everyone! Today we are going to be doing the instructional video for our mini book keychains. And you have in your kit an old magazine. These are magazines that we have pulled out of the library because they are older and they're ready to be done. So even though they have the barcode at the top, don't worry about cutting these up. They are deleted from the catalog, just like the books we used for the book sculpture. You also have in your kit a printout of some variously sized book covers. I'm going to put that aside for now. The other things you'll need are scissors, a pencil, some glue, a paintbrush, which is optional, and your X-Acto knife or box cutter. I'm using a box cutter this time, and I'm going to go over some safety tips for these first and foremost. The very first thing is, if you have a box cutter that opens either like mine does by folding out, or if you have one that has a little latch that you slide up, make sure that your X-Acto knife is locked so that it's not going to collapse when you use it. Also make sure that you put down something. I've got some cardboard here. Put down something to protect your work surface so that if you cut all the way through your magazine by accident, you won't destroy a table or a desk or anything. A good way to check is to gently press kind of in the direction that your box cutter opens if it's hinged, and just make sure that it has clicked. You don't want to wrap your hand all the way around and then check, because you don't want it to flip closed and snap on your fingers. Other things you can kind of see, mine has, I don't know if you can see that, a little bit of lint on it. But if that had been like sticky or gunk or rust, I would change out this blade. You always want to work with a blade that is clean and that is sharp. It might seem counterintuitive, but the sharper your blade is, the safer it is. Other things to remember are always cut away from yourself. So if you're cutting vertically, make sure to cut away, because you don't want it to slip and kind of kick up and you can hit yourself in your torso or in your face, and that's no good. If you're holding something down and cutting horizontally, make sure that you're never cutting toward your fingers that you're holding with. For example, if I were cutting something and holding it like this, I wouldn't cut this way because I don't want to be cutting toward my thumb. I would find a way to hold it so that I can cut away from my fingers. Straight lines are going to be a lot easier to cut than curved lines. The other thing is, go slowly with your cutter. Don't try to rush and slice everything all at once, especially if you're cutting a curve, because with things like that, the box cutter can kind of get hung up on things and jump a little bit. You don't want to have that happen. The other thing is, if you start, you don't have to cut through the entirety of whatever you're cutting right away. You can go over it multiple times to kind of to go through different layers. So let's say I was trying to cut this actual cardboard down. I would cut a little bit in, and then a little bit deeper, and then a little bit deeper, instead of trying to stab this in and go the whole way through, because you don't want to have to pull too hard to cut through something. That will give, you'll lose some control there. Next, if your box cutter has a handle, make sure that that's where you hold it. Don't be tempted to hold it way up here by the blade, because that feels like you have more control, but it also puts your fingers dangerously close to the blade, and you have more leverage if you hold it a little bit further back. And those are my safety tips. If yours doesn't close, then you should be fine. Just make sure you check your blade and you know how to change it out safely, or you ask someone to help you if it needs to be changed out. And never cut towards yourself. Those are the big ones that I will probably repeat a couple times in this video. So first thing we're going to do is choose which book we want to make. I like Scythe, so that is one of my favorite books. I'm going to make one of those, and you can use these book covers I gave you, or if you'd like to make your favorite book, you can always go online and search the name of the book and full cover, and then you resize that image. I did these right in Word, so it's easy to do, and you want your book to be 1 inch to 2 inches tall, and that will give you a cover like this. In fact, that's what I did for this one. I took an actual picture of an actual copy of Scythe and made it small. So we can put those aside, and now we're gonna take this and wrap it. You center the book spine on your magazine and wrap it around to make sure that your magazine is the right thickness. And then all you have to do, take your pencil and trace this book cover. And that way you'll end up with your pages the exact same size as your cover. I'm going to put my cover aside for now. And I'm sorry that this cover is so dark. It's hard to see where I traced it. But along these 2 trace lines, that's where I'm going to use my box cutter. And I'm going to make sure to get the whole spine of the magazine. To do this, you want a magazine that's been glued, not a magazine that's been stapled together. If it's been stapled together, you kind of have to cut right, make sure that one of the staples is centered on where you're cutting. And down. And this is what I was saying before about layers. As you can see, I've cut through a few pages there, but it's going to take me a bit. Oh, and I'm breaking my own rule cutting towards myself. I should not be doing that. Good catch if you caught that. So I'm gonna turn it so that this is parallel to me, so that I'm cutting away from my body. And you can see why you want this, because as you can see, every time I get to the edge there, my knife kind of slips off and cuts through my cardboard a little. You can also use a piece of scrap wood under this, or a cutting board. An old cutting board would be good. There are special cutting mats for use with X-Acto knives and craft knives. Those are a little expensive. Let's see how I'm doing. You can look at the back and you can see that I've started to get all the way through in parts of the back, so I'm almost there. Just gonna keep following the first lines that I made. And then for this one, same thing. Just keep following those lines that I already made. And you can keep turning it to find kind of the best angle for you and how you cut. I like to have my knife kind of slip off that edge to make sure that I'm getting all the way through. You can also, instead of sliding it, you can press down slowly through the spine if the spine is giving you trouble because of the glue. And like I said on our last craft video, the secret to making these look good is really going to be patience. If you rush through this and just try to get it done and over with, it's not going to look as neat as if you take your time and make sure you're cutting a straight line and you're careful. Also with this one, if you rush, there is the chance that you'll get hurt, and I really don't want that. I like you guys, and I like you with all of your fingers. Alright, the corner is always going to be the toughest part, so you can do the same thing there that you did with the spine, just kind of put your knife in and press down slowly. And there we have it. My magazine cover fell off, but that's okay. And you can see here, all the pages though are nicely glued together. And I have a little bundle of pages there. Put my magazine aside, and I'm gonna close up my box cutter because I'm not using it anymore. Mine has this safety latch. Important thing to know about the ones with the safety latches: don't wrap your hand around it and press that safety latch, because when it swings closed, same problem, it can get your fingers. I've done that before. It's no fun. So what I do is I hold it like this and press there. It's hard to do this without, okay, it's really hard to do this with where you guys can see it. But make sure my fingers are all out of the way, then I close it. Super secrets: make sure your blade is clean before you close this up. If it's wet or if it has glue on it, you want to either replace that blade, and the blades are not super duper expensive, or you want to clean it off before you put that away. When you're cleaning a blade, you always come from the back and slide up, so that because if you come this way, you can hurt yourself, so come from the back and wipe that way. And that's a little bit safer, but still be super duper careful. There we go. Box cutter's done. We've got our little bundle of pages. We've got our cover. And I do not have one thing that you guys have. I don't have the keychain piece, because I only had enough for you guys. So what you guys are gonna do is kind of glue that ring of the keychain somewhere in the middle of your book. What I would do is open it up, stick the ring in, and glue the pages closed around it. You might need something stronger than Elmer's. You might need a super glue or a craft glue. That is up to you. If you're feeling extra super fancy, you could, if you have a very, very small drill bit or a Dremel, you could drill a hole through the corner of your book and put the ring there to put it on your keychain. That's up to you. You can also decide not to put this on a keychain, and instead you could make it decorative for a diorama or a miniature scene or a dollhouse, whatever you feel like. All right, and we're gonna use the glue. I like to use, especially for small kind of detailed things like this, I love using a paintbrush to apply the glue. I think that it ends up neater. I think you end up with a more even coat of glue, and I think it's a little bit easier. So I just dip my paintbrush right into the glue, wipe off the extra, and brush a nice thin coat over the front, slightly thicker coat over the spine, because you want that to really stick, and a nice thin coat over the back here. There we go. Wash that paintbrush out later. Take your book, make sure it's opening in the right direction. and that it's right side up, and then you just glue your little mini cover around your pages. Line it up, make it all neat, make sure you don't have any folds or buckles or bubbles in there. Make sure to press the spine on nice and neat. And ta-da! There you have it, miniature book. And now to finish this off, I'm going to give it a coat on the outside of regular craft glue. If you have Mod Podge at your house or varnish, you can use that to make it a little shinier and a little bit more sturdy. That is absolutely understandable. The glue is just gonna make it a little bit less likely to rip or tear. If you like that your book opens, cool, leave it. It can keep on opening. If you'd rather have it stay closed, what I would do is put a thick layer of glue all the way around the edges. And then once your cover is dry, you can put this between two heavy things and add glue around the edges, and that will hold it shut. And there it is, teeny tiny mini book. These won't take too long at all to dry. These are great. People really love them. You could find out your whole family's favorite books, make them all keychains or necklaces. These make excellent necklaces. You can make them those for Christmas. They love them. And I hope you had fun. I hope you all still have 10 fingers. I'm sure you do. I know you're all super smart and very careful. And I cannot wait to see your finished mini books. And I will see you next week. Bye.